This video has been brought to you by ESPN+. Watch this weekend's fights for free by signing up for your 7-day free trial using the link in the description below. Since Conor McGregor became the first two-division champion of the UFC, we have seen an increase of UFC champions willing to challenge themselves in a different weight class in pursuit of a second world title. We have seen the UFC book champion versus champion fights, where in 2019 we saw both Daniel Cormier and Amanda Nunes achieve the champ status. It is one of the biggest accomplishments a fighter can have, where their name will be immortalized in the history books. So for this video I'll be talking about 5 UFC champions who could hold 2 belts in 2019. Number 5. TJ Dillashaw. TJ Dillashaw is the current UFC bantamweight champion who has looked nothing but spectacular since his rise towards the top. After losing a close split decision to Dominic Cruz at UFC Fight Night 81, TJ Dillashaw had just lost a UFC bantamweight title where he had to work his way back up to the top. He came back and was able to dominate both Rafael Assunção at UFC 200 and John Lineker at UFC 207. After 2 solid wins, he was awarded the next title shot against then UFC bantamweight champion and former teammate Cody Garbrandt. Both fighters would coach on The Ultimate Fighter and would develop an intense rivalry. They both were scheduled to face each other at UFC 217, where in the fight, TJ Dillashaw would land a crushing right hook in the second round, sending Cody to the canvas and followed up with punches to get the TKO victory. He would face Cody again in a rematch at UFC 227, where he would finish him in the first round, making a statement. TJ Dillashaw would next get the opportunity to face the newly crowned flyweight champion Henry Cejudo in a super fight where he was willing to cut down to the 125-pound division. Both fighters were scheduled to face each other at UFC Fight Night 143, where in the fight, Henry Cejudo was able to drop TJ Dillashaw with a crushing left hand and followed up with punches to get the TKO victory. Many have said that the fight was stopped very early as TJ was in the scramble and was still in the fight. Even the UFC president Dana White mentioned that the fight was stopped too early.
I thought it was an early stoppage too.
So
listen, you got 2 of the best guys in the world, 2 world champions in a super fight. Let them fight.
I believe the UFC will most likely grant TJ a rematch with Henry Cejudo later this year, where TJ may be able to pull off an upset. TJ has both the striking and the wrestling skills to hang with the best fighters in the world, where he definitely has the tools to possibly cause an upset in the rematch. Number 4. Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley is the current UFC welterweight champion who has shut down his opponents impressively since winning the title. He was able to dethrone Robbie Lawler at UFC 201 with a vicious right hand, sending Robbie Lawler to the canvas. He followed up with punches to get the KO victory, becoming the new UFC welterweight champion of the world. He next faced Stephen Thompson in UFC 205, where the fight would end in a majority draw. He would next defeat Stephen Thompson in a rematch by a majority decision, and would next defeat Damian Maia by a unanimous decision at UFC 214. In his last fight, he faced rising prospect Darren Till at UFC 228, where he won the fight by submission via Darce choke in the second round. Tyron Woodley has looked very dominant whilst as the champion, where his skill set is on a different level compared to his opponents. He has one-punch knockout power and has one of the best wrestling skills in the division. In a recent interview with MMA Junkie, he mentioned that he wants to clear out the welterweight division and wants to move up to the middleweight division and challenge for the title. He said, "I kind of want to legitimately clean the division. I wouldn't mind fighting RDA, Colby, Usman, Till, and at that point, unless another prospect emerges, I've cleaned out the division and I'm the greatest welterweight of all time at that point. And then it's time to move up to 185 and I want that belt. I want to finish off my division. When it's all said and done, I did everything I could do there. I want to move up and challenge myself once again, and I want to try to win the belt at 85 and defend there and pretty much retire as a middleweight." If Tyron Woodley is able to defend his welterweight title multiple times this year, this may open an opportunity for him to possibly be offered a super fight at middleweight. Tyron Woodley is one of the most underappreciated fighters in the UFC, where he definitely has the skills to hold 2 titles possibly in 2019. Number 3. Max Holloway. Max Holloway is the current UFC featherweight champion who started from the bottom and worked his way to the top, where he has just cleared out the division in an impressive manner. He was able to win the interim UFC featherweight title, defeating Anthony Pettis by TKO at UFC 206. He was next set to unify the titles against reigning UFC featherweight champion Jose Aldo at UFC 212. In the fight, Max Holloway would finish Jose Aldo by TKO in the 3rd round. He would face Jose Aldo again in a rematch at UFC 218, where Max Holloway's pressure and accurate strikes would lead him to finish Jose Aldo again by TKO in the 3rd round. His next challenge would be the undefeated Brian Ortega, who had just looked spectacular in his fights. Brian Ortega had finished all of his opponents and had been known for his submission skills. Both fighters were booked to face each other at UFC 231, where in the fight, Max Holloway would beat Brian Ortega down with his accurately timed strikes to win the fight by TKO doctor stoppage in the 4th round. With Max Holloway almost clearing out the featherweight division, a super fight with the current UFC lightweight champion Khabib Nurmagomedov could be his next option. Max Holloway briefly filled in for injured Tony Ferguson at UFC 223, where he was set to face Khabib Nurmagomedov for the UFC lightweight title. Just a day before the fight, the New York State Athletic Commission had ruled Max Holloway medically not fit to compete and was pulled from the fight. I believe Max Holloway will look even more impressive at lightweight, and he definitely has the skills to hold 2 titles in 2019. Number 2. Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo is the current UFC flyweight champion who has shown a great growth in his fighting style, which has led him to holding UFC gold. After losing his first title fight by TKO to Demetrius Johnson at UFC 197, he would lose again to Joseph Benavidez by a split decision at the Ultimate Fighter 24 finale. After suffering 2 losses in a row, Henry Cejudo went back and developed his skills, where the improvements would show in his next couple of fights. He would finish Wilson Hayes by TKO and dominate Sergio Pettis with his wrestling to win the fight by unanimous decision. These 2 victories would earn him a second shot at the champion Demetrius Johnson. Both fighters were scheduled to face each other at UFC 227, where in the fight, Henry Cejudo was able to hold his own on the feet and landed numerous takedowns over the rounds. This was enough for him to win the fight by a split decision, becoming the new UFC flyweight champion of the world. His first title defense would be against the UFC bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw at UFC Final 143. It would take Henry Cejudo only 32 seconds to finish TJ Dillashaw in the first round. Many thought it was a very controversial stoppage, and a rematch may be in the works. At the post-fight press conference, Henry Cejudo said that he wanted his chance at bantamweight for TJ's title next.
I think I have the right to say, hey, give me a shot, allow me to keep this bout at 125 pounds. You can get your rematch, but let's do it at 135 pounds. Give me a shot now.
With Henry Cejudo already holding a victory over TJ Dillashaw, he is full of confidence and definitely has what it takes to possibly dethrone TJ Dillashaw at bantamweight in 2019 and hold 2 titles. Number 1. Jon Jones. Jon Jones is the current UFC light heavyweight champion whose skill set has dominated some of the biggest names in MMA. He became the youngest UFC champion at the age of 23 and has shown insane growth to his skills over the years. Jon Jones made his return in late 2018 against Alexander Gustafsson at UFC 232. He was able to use his long limbs to attack Alexander Gustafsson from the outside, where in the 3rd round he was able to take the fight to the ground and pulled off a TKO finish, becoming the new UFC light heavyweight champion of the world. With not many challenges left for him in the weight class, a super fight with the current UFC heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier could happen in 2019. Both fighters' rivalry has intensified over the years, which has had fans tune into their fights. In their first fight at UFC 182, Jon Jones was able to dominate Daniel Cormier, winning the fight by unanimous decision. In their rematch at UFC 214, Jon Jones was able to finish Daniel Cormier with a head kick and punches. He would later test positive for Turinabol and would be stripped of his title. Now with Jon Jones as the reigning UFC light heavyweight champion, I believe Jon Jones has what it takes to dethrone Daniel Cormier again at heavyweight, which will solidify his spot to being one of the greatest fighters in UFC history. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please make sure you hit that like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit that subscribe button. So that was my list of 5 UFC champions who could hold 2 belts in 2019. Let me know your honorable mentions in the comment section below. Also check out my last video where I talk about the 10 most improved fighters of 2018 and my other video where I talk about my 10 UFC predictions for 2019. Also, if you guys want to watch the fights for free this weekend, sign up to the ESPN Plus 7-day free trial using the link in the description below. I appreciate your support and I'll catch you guys next time.